Welcome, everybody. How to make your tax practice a firm of the future. And Peter Cullen, feel free to take it from there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Woody. Very happy to be here, to be able to have the chance to speak to tax firms about how to move our firms forward, how to make our tax and accounting practices firms of the future. As he said, I am a partner in the accounting firm Core Performance. We are based in Southern California. However, we have clients all over the country and actually all over the world. With the cloud, it makes it certainly possible for us to be able to reach firms who need an accountant who can advise them on all things tax, accounting-wise, and so it makes it much easier for us to work with them. I also point out to you, if you look at the bottom of each of the slides, there is my LinkedIn profile and my Twitter handle, which are things that I share with you because it's very important for us to be able to share the ideas that we have and be able to speak out about things that we think are important so we can share them with clients, with people that we know. I also would certainly like to invite you to connect with me on both LinkedIn and Twitter so that we can start sharing the conversation. So let me go ahead and launch into this. This is a little bit about me. I am a 10-year certified QuickBooks Pro advisor, and why I point that out is because our firm is a tax and accounting firm, which means that we both do accounting for our clients as well as tax accounting, which means, of course, preparing corporate, individual, partnership, estate, nonprofit tax returns. When the cloud came out, when Intuit launched QuickBooks Online back in the mid 2000s, I started looking at the product then and thinking, okay, this is a way for me to be able to see my client's information without having to log into a server or to connect with their computer or to use GoToMyPC or any of those tools that we have. And so I very quickly saw that as a strong possibility for me to be able to get closer to their numbers so that I could get closer to my client. This is a consistent theme that I want to share with all of you, which is that the accounting world is changing so very much. And it's mainly changing because we're in a place now where the companies that we work with, they need advice now more than at any time. There's so much change going on in the world now, and there's so many different issues, challenges, pressures that we all know these things because we work with clients and we see the issues that they're having. The thing that we have to change, the mind that we have to have, is that they're looking for somebody who can advise them on the important challenges that they have, and they're looking for somebody who knows them well, who knows their finances well, and is somebody who can provide meaningful advice at the appropriate time so that they can move forward. This is a huge challenge, and it's also a wonderful opportunity for accountants to be able to work more closely with clients. I point out also, too, by the way, that I'm a technology enthusiast, so I don't go into the whole idea about let's use every single technology available, or let's make sure we're using the latest and greatest technologies. I only use technology as a lever, as an implement, as a tool that we can use to get closer to our clients. That's the single factor that I utilize when I'm looking at new technology. Is this going to allow me to become more in a sharing and a collaborative role when I'm working with clients? I also point out some of the things that I love to do, which is playing soccer, coaching soccer, refereeing soccer. I'm a huge fan of the game. I watch a lot of soccer matches, and I've met a lot of people from all over the world because of my love of soccer. I am a husband to my wife Sue, 28 years married, and we have 4 children. So that's a little bit about me. I think we already covered this. This is about housekeeping. So certainly I want to make sure that we make this interactive. So if there's comments, questions, issues that you would like to bring up, certainly if you would, please post them into the question or chat, and we will certainly address those. And I want to make sure that we move this conversation forward. There is a handout there that you can pull from the go to webinar page from within the control panel if you would like to look at the slides. Okay, so here's what we're going to be covering. This is our basic agenda. I'm just going to cover each of these points very, very simply, and then we will dive into them. So the first one is how to keep a future mindset. So you can see all these are basically questions that we as accountants have to be able to spend time thinking about and looking at and pondering so that we can come up with meaningful answers that will solve important problems, again, that will allow us to get closer to our clients. So how to keep a future mindset? Is it an external or internal constraint? Third is, what does cloud really mean? We'll certainly talk about that. Number 4, how to actionably question convention. So convention in this context means what are the conventional tools, methods, procedures that we use within our practices, and how can we get more out of them? And then finally, what challenges does the cloud present? We'll talk about that also. So first one, what do we know about the future? Well, we know that the future is going to be very, very different than the present. We know this because we've looked at all the changes that have occurred within our practices, all the differences that have taken place, the changes in tax law, the changes in regulation, the impact of things like sales and use tax, and other taxes that states and local governments are imposing upon our clients. And therefore, whereas we used to just think about income tax as the primary offering or product or service that we provide, we now know that tax as a concept, as something we have to address, is more and more a factor in the lives of our clients each and every single day. So we have to think about the future a lot. We have to spend time considering what is the future going to be holding for us as practitioners, what is the future going to be holding for our clients, and how are we going to be able to align our abilities, our innate ability to analyze complicated issues and break them down into simple things that we can explain and utilize to serve client needs. So here are some of the principles of future-minded thinking. I think the first one is the most important one, which is we have to get away from this idea of viewing the work that we do as a periodic work and transition from that where we work with clients once a quarter or once every 6 months or once every year or so on or so on. We need to think about engaging with our clients more and more on a regular basis so we can hear what's happening in the lives of the companies that they own and manage, as well as their needs and wants. What challenges are they having? What goals are they trying to meet? The way we accomplish this is we hold ourselves out as something other than just a tax professional. We hold ourselves out to be people who can help solve important problems. People who have the right mindset to be able to solve important challenges that our clients have. How do we do this? We engage in conversation with our clients. We speak to them on the telephone. We go meet them for lunch or coffee. We ask them questions about what challenges are they having, what needs do they have, and what are some areas that that they believe we may be able to help them solve. This is how we get clients talking to us and telling us what's happening, and then it's just a question of us lining up our abilities, our innate ability, again, to solve important problems and to be able to communicate that in a way that the client can understand. That's a huge shift that we're all in the process of doing. We're all doing this change, and it's all occurring because we have access to their information, their financial data, their cash flow, their income statements, their net worth, their equity, their distributions, all of these things. We have access to this information all the time because of the cloud. Second point, filtering prospects and existing clients through a scoring system. In our firm, we actually send out a survey to clients after every single meeting, asking them to score us on how we performed in the meeting according to what they were expecting. Meaning, did we accomplish the goals that we had set out and told them we were going to accomplish at the time of the meeting? So, and that's given us tremendous feedback on how we can improve the time that we spend with them. And then finally, we have to ask the question, what's holding us back from delivering faster, better, and more profitable engagements? Well, certainly time constraints. There are certainly challenges in us being able to conduct and maintain a profitable engagement with clients. However, I can tell you, because our firm has been in the cloud since 2012, so about 5 years now, we've been fully in the cloud. QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Online Accountant, Smart Vault for all of our document storage, Intuit ProConnect Tax Online, which we used to call Intuit Tax Online. It's now called Intuit ProConnect Tax Online. We use all of these tools so that we can efficiently get to the information that we need to, again, serve those client needs. Okay, so here's a little bit more on the prior slide, and it's really just a way of looking at how we think, how we view the relationships and the clients that we have. If we think about every client as a possibility to make significant change in the lives of that client, what is it that they are currently dealing with that we have a means by which to help solve an important problem? If we think about these things all the time, we will come up with answers that we can, again, convey in a way that the client can understand. We have to get away from people who want to use accounting terminology or tax terminology. We have to remove all the jargon from our language, from our communication, from our conversations, and just speak in common sense terms with clients. So some of the items here I wanted to share, again, have to do with a constant theme that I have, which is we have gotten away from client-server technology. We no longer use client-server technology. We don't have any software installed on any of our computers. We access everything through a browser. So all of our accounting software, all of our tax software, everything that we touch, we can get to from any internet-connected computer. So we use Chromebooks a lot for staff to be able to work on client work because they don't need software. I'm going to look here in the chat panel because there's a comment here I want to get to. Okay, that's just a shorter link to the PDF. I'll get back into the presentation. So another thing that I want to share with you is that clients, the type of client that is comfortable working in the cloud is also comfortable collaborating with tax professionals. They're comfortable sharing information using the cloud about work that's going on, about things that are happening. A little bit further on in the slide deck, we're going to be talking about Intuit Link, which is the tool that we use to gather information that we need from our corporate, individual, and nonprofit clients to be able to have a consistent flow of information with regards to documents we need, tax forms that we need, other information we need to complete the tax return. Okay, so I think I've already answered this, but we'll cover it. So again, the old way of doing things was certainly client-server technology, where people installed software on a server, they created a network of computers that could share the software that was on the server, and then people were able to work inside the network. The cloud is totally different, because in the cloud, as we all know this, we're able to use newer technology, better technology that's accessible only through a browser. So here's some more with regards to the way we used to work on the left-hand side of the page and the way we're working now, the way we're working today on the right-hand side of the page. So we've gone away from Microsoft Office, and we're currently using basically G Suite for work, which is basically Google Apps. So all of the Google suite of tools, documents, sheets, slides, and forms. One of the things that we do in our firm is that we send out a Google form to each new prospective client that asks them important questions that we need to get at and receive from them before we have an introductory call. So it's a great way of teeing up for the prospective client. This is how we work. These are the ways that we work with you, and these are the goals that we intend to meet. We intend to be a collaborative firm. We intend to be a firm that communicates with you using cloud tools that allow us to get closer to your information so we can provide a higher level of service. And again, with regards to desktop accounting and desktop tax software, you see on the left-hand side of the page how there is a transition going on in the world. It's not just occurring in accounting and tax, it's occurring everywhere. The leading software companies in the world are no longer making client-server or desktop software. They're all working in the cloud. And so Intuit, as a leading technology company, is building all of their best capability, all of their best functionalities into their QuickBooks Online Accountant, which is really just a layer. QuickBooks Online Accountant sits on top of QuickBooks Online, which means we as the accountant are invited into our client's QuickBooks Online file. They invite us as an external accountant, and their company file, their QuickBooks Online file, then shows up inside our QuickBooks Online Accountant, and we can easily get into the file and do work that we need. In the same way, Intuit ProConnect Tax Online is a tool that we can use that's comparable to Lacerte. It's basically Lacerte in the cloud. And what I mean by that is that the engineers who built the product were people who had worked on the Lacerte tax software, and so much of the same workflow and the same functionality that you saw in Lacerte is now built into Intuit ProConnect Tax Online. Our firm has used PTO now for 4 years, 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's actually 5 years. And so we've worked through all of the kinks. We slowly transitioned. We were a Pro Series customer beforehand, and we've slowly transitioned Pro Series tax returns over to PTO. I'd love to be able to have conversations with people about what that transition was like for us, how we did it, what challenges we had, and how we overcame those so that we could work virtually inside of ProConnect Tax Online. I want to bring up one other point here, which is that because we both do accounting and tax, we can now bring over a client's QuickBooks Online file, right? Once we've done the work on the accounting side, we can bring that file over directly into a PTO tax return So effectively, all of the trial balance is brought over into PTO, and we have a tax return where all the basic data entry is already done. It saves us at least 1 to 2 hours on each tax return that we do, not having to do data entry on the tax return, meaning going from the client's general ledger into the tax software. I also point out Intuit Link. I said earlier that Intuit Link is a way that we now, when we bring on a new tax client, we immediately sign them up for Intuit Link. We immediately start requesting things like copies of prior tax returns, other tax correspondence, IRS notices, EDD, which is the state of California, all different things having to do with the tax engagement letter that we've signed with them, which we have them actually digitally sign, and we bring it all into Intuit Link so that the tax preparers that are doing the work have access to all the documents that they need sitting right inside of PTO. So when you become a PTO customer, you have the ability from within PTO to also sign up for Intuit Link and immediately start inviting clients to accept the invitation for Intuit Link, and then you can start sending them checklists or emails or messages or notices.
Hey, Peter?
Yes.
I do have a great question from the audience. They just want to know if you have any clients on desktop anymore, or are they all on QBO?
Oh, gosh. It's a great question.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I find working with desktop clients to be somewhat challenging because I've now made this shift. So we no longer actually work with desktop clients. We do have some hosted clients on Right Networks, which means we're able to log into a server. This one is a virtual server, certainly, and we're able to work that way. But the problem with that is it doesn't allow us to move that client's general ledger into a tax return without having to commit extra time. So in my view of the world, and this is just Peter Cullen's assessment, my view of the world, the type of client that I want to work with is a client that's fully comfortable in the cloud, that understands that tax and accounting software on an Intuit server is far more secure than tax and accounting software on another server, a private server, a hosted server, a virtual server. So those are the types of conversations that we have with clients. We start up front with that. So hopefully
Thanks. That's great. No, that's great. I appreciate it.
Okay. So this next slide says question conventional methods. So this is a huge challenge for us because we as accountants, as tax professionals, we tend to be very conventional people, meaning we know how to follow norms. We know how to follow rules. We know how to adhere to rules. We know how to apply rules to difficult situations. So on the one hand, the conventional aspect, the conventional way of looking at the world is something that's not just a strength that we have, it's something that's expected by our clients, that we're people who are going to be able to ensure that the client does not get into any issues with any taxing authorities. So from that standpoint, convention is very good. It's very sound. However, in some ways, conventional ways of looking at the world hold us back from making important changes in the way that we work. And so this slide, I think, is important for us because we do need to look at inside of our practice and see what areas within our practice, what challenges, they could be workflow challenges, they could be hurdles in getting information from clients, they could be things that are keeping us from becoming more profitable that we need to question ourselves so we can come up with answers. This, by the way, is why I have been listening to and soaking up as much Firm of the Future material as I possibly can. One of the wonderful things Intuit has done for its customers is to give access to and have this platform where firms can share what they are doing inside their firm to make changes, important changes in the way that they work so that they can have more impactful practices, so that they can lead a better way of being able to serve clients, and clients see us then as people who are huge problem solvers, people who they will go to ask important questions before they will ask someone else. So we do have to look inside of our firms, and I encourage you to look at the Firm of the Future material, which includes webinars, case studies, practice tools, practice management capabilities, all accessible through the Intuit QuickBooks Pro Advisor site. So we've talked about this some, but if we can just think about the year 2017 coming up, the tax year 2016 ending, we need to think about, are there things we can be doing now here in early November on election day where we can start making plans for the future, start looking at things that we can be doing. And so I encourage you to follow up with me after the webinar if there's any content that you've seen in here that might be helpful in your practice. I'm somebody, and I know there are many other people, I actually know a lot of people in the industry who are building new, or not new, but building much more impactful practices by applying some of these new ways of looking at relationships we have with our clients, starting with asking very important questions and telling the client we want to help solve these problems that they're having. We want to help them move their businesses forward so that they can achieve the goals that they've set, and speak to them in ways that most accountants would never speak to them. Okay, new ideas on traditional objectives. So most firms would say, if we ask them, most firms would say, yes, I do want to grow my firm. And you know what? With the changes in the economy that are going on now, the traditional forms of employment are shifting, and more and more and more people, and this wave is growing, but more and more people are going to be entering self-employment because of the internet, because of technology, because of brand new business models that are forming each and every day. There's a lot of people who are starting new companies, and they have no idea whatsoever about the business side, about the regulatory side, about compliance, and about issues. So we can start with basic things. We can start with fundamental building block type things like incorporation, or working with attorneys, or how to set up your accounting system, or how to hire employees, or how to be compliant with the Affordable Care Act. There's just so many things we can do. If only we broaden our own horizons about how we can solve important challenges. And believe me, people, there's huge opportunities out there for accounting firms who want to be able to change their model from core business accounting, core income tax preparation, into a firm that is all about collaboration with clients, utilizing technology appropriately to solve important client problems. So I said at the start of this presentation that I'm active on social media. How do I do that? I'm somebody who reads a lot. I read the Wall Street Journal. I read the New York Times. I read Barron's. I read the LA Times. I read industry publications. I read all the time. And I find important things that I think that my clients would be interested in, and I post them on social media through LinkedIn, through Twitter. I hope you caught the handle that I've selected, which is Think, Imagine, Big. I love that handle because it encompasses everything about who I am. I think about things all the time. I think about, am I doing the right thing? Am I using my time appropriately? What could I be doing? I also imagine a future that is much better than the present. We all know that our clients are dealing with huge challenges. We all know that. There's no question about that. And those challenges are only going to get bigger, more complicated. And so we as accountants, we as tax professionals, we are people who are ideally suited to solve important, complicated challenges if only we change the way that we think about the role that we have with our clients. I'm going to go into the chat window for a second. Okay, we're going to get to some of these questions here when we get to it. So, back, yeah, sorry. Hello?
No, Peter, I was just saying I got a couple questions, but we can get to it at the end. It was more for your take on some things.
Sure, certainly. So I would encourage you to think a lot and also to imagine a future that can be much better than the present. Certainly, we are the people who have to think clearly, coolly, calmly, and get through all the clutter. A lot of the times when we're working with clients, their minds are so confused by all the challenges that they're having that they cannot think clearly. So what they need is somebody who doesn't get sucked into the drama, but instead can provide a reasonable approach to solving these important problems. So I want to add one more point here, which is how do we turn this into an engagement where we can make money at it? It's not really part of the presentation, but I did want to touch on this. A lot of times after I share with clients how we work and why we think it's important to collaborate, the client says things like, how are you going to help me? What are you going to do? What is it that you intend to do to help us? And so at that point in time, I have to craft an engagement. And sometimes it's on the tax side, sometimes it's on the accounting side, and I have to figure out what the pain point is that the client is having. I ask them about the pain point, and then I read it back to them based upon what they told me, and I come up with an answer, a possible solution to the problem, and I propose it to them verbally. This is what I think we might be able to do. Here's how we might be able to solve this problem. Here are some steps that we might want to take to think about getting through the challenges that you're having. Is this something you would be interested in having us do? In almost every single case, after years of doing this, the client says, yes, I would like to know what you think you can do to help solve our problem. And so what we then do is craft a proposal that seeks to point out what the expected outcomes are that we are going to provide with them, that we've already told them about, we expect to be able to do, and then we put a healthy retainer on the front end. At least a third of the total engagement is in the form of a retainer. And the reason why we get that is because most accountants don't talk to clients that way. Most accountants say, well, we'll do steps A, B, C, and D, and I'm about the entire alphabet. How can we solve this whole range of problems that you're having, and how can we get to a solution that gets you more comfortable? And when I talk like that, it makes it much, much easier for the client to say, okay, I'm willing to pay you up front a third of what you think the total value of this engagement is in order to solve these important problems. So we get to this slide. If you can, please read the quote at the top of the slide. I copied this from Corrine. Her firm, the 24-hour bookkeeper, her firm is called the 24-hour bookkeeper. If that's not a winning firm, I don't know what is. I love the name of her firm. She's in Minnesota. She has a staff. She was the winner of Firm of the Future for 2016. And her quote is, I cannot do a good job unless my clients are also engaged and willing to do the job. Sorry, there's a bit of a typo there. I'll fix that. But that one statement encompasses everything that needs to be said about collaboration. On the front end, at the beginning, from the start, in the first conversation we have with our clients, we tell them in order to accomplish this engagement, in order to achieve the goals that you have set out, we're going to be working with you using cloud technologies, using QuickBooks Online, using Intuit ProConnect Tax Online, using Intuit Link, and we're going to need your engagement, your assistance, your involvement in getting through the challenges that we have. We will do the heavy aspect. We will do the lifting, but we're going to need you to help us. And so this is huge. I love what she said, and so I copied it onto my slide. You can almost remove every other point there because she encapsulated everything that we do in just a couple sentences, and I thank her for that. So I've covered most of these points that are underneath. I will point out that the old way of doing things, where a client came to us with a problem, we fixed the problem, and then we went on to something else. That doesn't allow us to be able to build an effective and ongoing client relationship. We have to think about doing things differently, about building relationships over time, over 5 years, over 10 years. Start setting planning horizons with clients that say, I'm going to build a 3-year tax plan for your company and your business and your family, and I want to share with you what I think is important for you with regards to tax and how we can utilize the tax code to reduce tax exposure and improve your after-tax cash flow. When you talk to clients like that, they're like, oh, what's involved in getting that done? How do you do that? And so that sets a planning horizon with the client. This is what I mean when I say a better way to work together with staff and clients, having long-term conversations. So I'll say this too. In our firm, everything we do is impactful for clients. Every single conversation we have with clients, we intend to make a major impact in something that's going on within their lives, within their company's lives, to solve important problems that we have. And finally, this wave that we're on of new technologies, changing technologies, moving from client server to a browser to mobile, it's only accelerating, people, and we have to get on board with that change in order to change the way that we work with our clients. Okay, so we're going to do a little quiz here. Is your firm a firm of the future? Is your firm a firm of the future? So this is a quiz that we do, and we'll go through this with each and every one of you. I would encourage you to look at the slides, to look at the questions. I think there's 5 questions here that we will ask, and give yourself a score based upon the answer that you gave. So currently, how do you market your practice? Is it through word of mouth, which still clearly is a fantastic way of getting people who will come into your firm, and based upon a referral from someone that they know and that we know, that's a great way of getting clients. That's option A. B, I have a website that explains clearly the way that I work, the tools that we use, the services that we offer, and even still, I would also encourage you to think about providing options for clients, giving them a range of options that they can use so that they can choose the option that best fits them. And then for C, I'm also active on social media. It's really not that hard, by the way, to be active. If we think about the information that we have that's at our fingertips, because everything now is available to us, we're able to quickly get access to the information that we have. We can collate the information ourselves, we can filter it, and slightly add our twist to it so that when it goes out, it's something that a client, a prospective client, a referral source, someone that we know, they can see, oh, Peter's firm is explaining some important challenges we have with regards to tax law. Okay, so that's the first one. Number 2, what tool do you and your clients use most often to exchange data? So we have 3 options here: mailbox, scanner, and then laptop, which is basically being able to transfer documents, information electronically. So if you're still working in the mailbox, that's one point. If you're using a scanner, we have scanners in our office, clients that drop things off at a meeting or send things through the mail. They all go into the scanner and then immediately go from there into Intuit Link. So there's only one place of truth. If it doesn't, I like to say this, if the information is not in Intuit Link where we need it, it doesn't exist. So we have a procedure that says everything that we use for our clients goes directly from email, scanned image, Smart Vault, directly into Intuit Link, so that anybody who's working on the tax return has access to all the information that they need. That would be 2 points for choice B and 3 points for choice C, which is file transfer through the cloud. Client communications. So I had said to you earlier that I strongly encourage you to arrange meetings with your clients. Today at lunchtime, I'm going to be going to meet a tax client who's introducing me to a real estate investor. Our firm is very active here in Southern California in the real estate world. We do seminars on how real estate investors can use the tax code to improve and increase their after-tax cash flow and to reduce their compliance issues with the state of California and the IRS. So we communicate on those matters all the time. And it's funny, but this one client of mine, he's an individual tax client. He's someone that I've worked with for the last three years. And he knows that I'm somebody who's looking for real estate investor clients. And so he said, hey, Peter, would you like to meet this guy? He's fixing and flipping houses, and he's looking for a tax accountant. I'm like, wow, that's a perfect lead for our firm. So please reach out to your clients. Tell them about the changes that you're making within your firm. Tell them about the way that you work with your clients. Tell them that you have important ways of solving problems that they have, that you're a person who can be relied upon, who they can lean on to ask these huge questions that they're having, and that you'll come up with ways of being able to solve the problems that they're having. So 1 point for choice A, 2 points for choice B, and 3 points for choice C, which is talking to them on the mobile phone or even text. We text with our clients too. So when we set the client up with Intuit Link, we not only put their email in, but we do have their mobile phone number. If we need to text them to send a text message saying, hey, we're still waiting on those 1099s from you. You told us you were going to send them. We can't complete the return by the prescribed date unless you get us a 1099. Question 4, what type of pricing structure do you use? Is it hourly, hybrid, or value-based? So we really haven't gotten into this part yet. We haven't really talked about the pricing models that one can use. I can tell you that all of our new engagements, all of our tax return engagements that we enter into now, they're all what I call prospective engagements. So we've already sent out all of our 2017 engagement letters ahead of time. And they all include quarterly fees. So we break the annual fee down into quarterly increments. We get paid via electronic funds transfer on the first day of every quarter. There's no invoicing in this firm. There's no accounts receivable in this firm. There's none of that. We get paid or we don't do the work. It's as simple as that. And the client agreed to it on the front end in their engagement letter. So they understand it, they recognize it up front, and they've already set up all the banking information so that the automated debit hits on January 1st, April 1st, and so on. So you could say that we use a value-based pricing because we've come up with an engagement fee ahead of time with the client that's ordinarily a lot higher than they would have expected for somebody to prepare a tax return, because that's not what we do. We don't just prepare tax returns. We're advising the client throughout the year. We don't care how many times they call us or try to reach out to us. And as a matter of fact, we encourage them to call us, to contact us, because we want to know what challenges they're having at the time they're having the challenge. 2 months later or 30 days later, it's oftentimes pointless to get at the challenge. But if you can address the challenge at that time, then you have a client who recognizes this accountant really is on board with me. This accountant has built a business model that's responsive to my needs, not just padding his or her pocket. So I would encourage you to think about building a business model where you're billing your clients ahead of time, where you're using electronic funds transfer, and where your engagement letter explicitly stipulates that the monies will be taken out of their account according to the prescribed dates. And if the funds are not paid, then the work will not be done. Now, we also have to add a lot of value. We have to provide a tax plan, a prospective tax plan ahead of time that says, based upon what we know about your company, based upon what we know about your individual tax situation, here is the tax plan that we've built for you for 2017. Now, we haven't finished 2016 yet, so we can't really build a 2017 tax plan, but believe you me, by late February, early March, we will have already sent out tax performance for 2017, and it's all automated. It's all automated. It pulls the number right out of the taxes, the corporate tax return, puts it into our tax planning software, and creates a model that shows the client, based upon what we know about your company, and we can update this quarterly when we meet with you, this is what your tax expense looks like for 2017. So hopefully that's helpful to you. I share that with you because we have found it to be very, very effective. At first, there was a bit of pushback from clients with regards to, wow, you're going to get paid and you haven't yet done the work. And we're like, well, we're providing you value from the start. We're building an engagement that we have to start spending time on now. And so we want to make sure that we've structured the fees in accordance with the value that we're providing to your firm. Some people will not accept it, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with people who are saying, look, I don't want to work the way you work. As a matter of fact, I would rather they do that on the front end so that they can disqualify themselves from working with our firm. Because there are plenty of firms out there, plenty of prospective clients who are happy to work with this new model. Question 5. Where is the coolest place you've done accounting or taxes? The office, your home, or the beach? So I don't know if any of the people that are on the webinar were at QuickBooks Connect. And if you were there a couple weeks ago in San Jose, if you went to Bryce Forney's ProConnect Tax Online class that he led, Bryce is a firm of the future. His firm, Forney CPAs, is very much like our firm. I'm sure that there are plenty of things that we don't do exactly the same, but Bryce is a guy that I look up to. He's a guy that understands how to use technology in a very smart, intelligent way that advances client needs and also helps him to ensure that he's building a successful firm. And at this time, in this slide that he used, where he said office, home, or beach, he had put a picture of him working on his laptop in a park in San Francisco. Bryce lives pretty close to San Francisco, and so he was there, and I thought that was cool. So I will have to do that for the next time that I get to talk. So please give yourself 1 point for the office, 2 points for home, and 3 points for the beach. Keep in mind, the internet now is much more available than it was, in the past. Any Starbucks that you go into, the internet is very, very stable and allows us to work there. We can meet clients there. We can get work done there. We don't have to be at the office to get work done. So, finally, is your firm a firm of the future? 5 to 8, you're a traditionalist. So we are very traditional people. If we think about all the people that we know in our lives, they have all of these crazy ideas about what they want to do, and we're people who understand the tax law. How much more traditional can you get than that? People who understand the tax law are extremely valuable in today's economy because the tax law is getting more challenging, not less challenging. It's accelerating at a rapid rate as federal, state, and local governments get into more ways that they can get into our clients' pockets to charge them for things that the state and local governments need to accomplish their own goals. So it's good to be a traditionalist. However, again, we have to question the conventional way that we work. We have to question the way that we think. We have to question, are we building the right type of relationship with our clients? Are there better ways that we can do that? And again, I please encourage you to follow up with me. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Connect with me on Twitter. Follow me there and send me a message, and I will reach out to you to talk about your challenge, about your issue, about how we can help each other. You can help me, and I can help you. So 5 to 8, you are a traditionalist. Some options that we can do here is think about moving our own firm's books onto QuickBooks Online, or use one of the free, that's right, I said free. Intuit offers free tax returns to pro advisors who sign up for ProConnect Tax Online. It's 5 business returns, and I think 2 individual. I think I have that right. I strongly encourage you to look at using ProConnect Tax Online for a sampling. So finally, 9 through 12, you're on your way. You're ready to become a firm of the future. Connect with Peter. I want to connect with you. I want all of us accountants to move together, to be together, to share. And then finally, you scored 13 to 15. You are a rock star officially.